As the First World War continues to rage on, some advances were at least made in the Middle East for the Allied forces. And in December of 1917, BEF, British Expeditionary Force, EEF, Egyptian Expeditionary Force, and some British colonial troops from India and Burma in there as well, managed to capture Jerusalem, and Palestine is now under British control after many centuries. Over 7 centuries of being under Muslim control by the Ottomans, it is now under British Empire protection. However, this will only continue stirring the pot for future conflicts. This is Palestine under British rule, the British colonisation of Palestine, 1917 to 1948. Hope you enjoyed this short documentary. Sources in the description. Let's begin. Under the previously made Sykes-Picot Agreement and Balfour Declaration, the Middle East had already had its fate decided, regardless with the Arabs' demands and the Saudi Arabian demands. And just like that, Palestine was now under British control. And shortly after victory, that was for sure, after capturing December 1917, the First World War ended 11 months later, and Palestine was now under British control. The British really had quite a hard nut to crack. However, they did deliver on their promise. They did send in mass imports of Jewish people into Palestine, and at first there was mostly peace between the new Jewish immigrants and the Arab population. However, this is mainly because, like with other British colonies that had some ethnic tensions, like in neighbouring Iraq, and of course in India and Burma, it's mainly because the two sides, Christians, Jewish people, and Muslims, had a common enemy, that being the British colonisers. So they would, quite happily work together if it meant getting them out of the country. Unfortunately, Palestine was treated like any other British colony. The fight is back, this is literally Jerusalem, the Holy Land, is under British control. Didn't really mean much to the people with the long moustaches and the suits who know the British people governing the country. It remained, like anything else, the British governed the country and the British had total control of the foreign affairs of the country. The point I'm trying to make here is Palestine was treated like any other British colony, which was part of the problem. No considerations were taken to any demands of the Arab people that were already living in Palestine, or to where the British can settle these new Jewish people. They decided to scatter them throughout the entire colony. And in 1936-1938, some tensions did begin. Well, tensions began about 3,000 years ago, before the Bible was even written, but in terms of tensions right now, tensions started to begin between Muslims and Arabs. Muslims and Arabs and Jewish people, and Christians. Although mostly Christians, because of course British was a Christian power nation, they did quite happily, relatively happily, live under British protection. As the Second World War occurred, life got pretty terrible for everyone, particularly in Palestine, if quite a far right sort of Muslim, because even more and more Jewish people were sent to Palestine as a result of Nazi persecution in the 1935 Nuremberg laws being implemented, and from Germany and Poland and Austria, vast more were sent, definitely Jewish people from Poland, Germany, Austria, as a lot of Nazi persecution went to Palestine. And throughout the Second World War, the British, the French, the Americans sent even more Jewish people, and Jewish people on their own accord, under their own migrational accord, went to Palestine to escape the persecution, which unfortunately started to be the final nail in the coffin for Palestine, because of the fact that they had so many more Jewish people living in the territory that was once entirely held by the Arabs just, less than 3-4 decades ago. Second World War was yet another Allied victory, and yet again it remained under British control. However, the British now realised that they wanted an independent Palestinian state. They had seen what has been going on in India with Muhammad Ali, Jinnah, Mahatma Gandhi, and pretty much the rest of the empire, and the general imperial cause was starting to die after the Second World War, an idea of self-governance. But after, in 1947, seeing what happened to India, where 1 million people were killed within the first week of crossing borders between the new, Pakistan, East Pakistan, later Bangladesh, and India, they did not want the same fate to happen to Palestine. So effectively, they drew the straight line between the new West Bank, Gaza Strip, and the Jewish settlement, and left the territory immediately with their troops. And that was it. On the 15th of May 1948, Palestine get independence from Britain, and simultaneously, on the same day, the First Arab-Israeli War occurred, and later conflicts would forever be sown between them. So, in conclusion, the British colonisation of Palestine was, like most colonisation, probably best if it didn't happen, and if consideration of what the actual Jewish, Christians, and Muslim people wanted was taken into consideration, far better outcome could have been made. At the end of the day, it was again that simple mouth of imperial incompetence amongst many British imperialists and politicians at the time. They simply saw Palestine as another bit of a red bit on the map. The most of the map was red. Of course, red being the British Empire colour. It was simply another bit of red on the map. What did it matter? We had won the First World War. This church is now British. Get along. And unfortunately, this would not occur. Although the British perhaps not going to be solely blamed for, of course, the conflicts between Palestine, because again, like I said, this has been 3,000 years in the making before the Bible of who controls the Holy Land and Jerusalem, Bethlehem, etc. But what the British perhaps can be blamed for is not taking more consideration how the border would be drawn. And forevermore, the conflict would continue to exist in the region as more Jewish people came into the country, and the rise of course, Pan-Arabism, as we get to the likes of like Gamal Abdel Nasser. Check out my own Suez Crisis video to find out more about that, which is also linked to the Palestinian, Jewish, Palestinian, Israeli fighting. This would very much be sown. The extremists were simply on the rise on, all religions and fronts. And that is the hit British colonisation of Palestine in a very brief format video, short documentary. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next YouTube video. Goodbye.